Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Ballabha Jaya Giribharadhari Jaya Giribharadhari Jaya Giribharadhari Jashodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamunatiravanachari Kunja Bihari Jaya Jamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarashata Shishimadhi Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarashata Shishimadhi Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantarashmam Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishiguru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 53, Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. Text 50 to 55. Text 50. Muni Vratan Atatyaktva Nischakramambika Grihat Pragrihya Panina Bhrityam Ratnamudro Pashovina Muni Vratan Athatyaktva Nischakramambika Grihat Pragrihya Panina Bhrityam Ratnamudro Pashobina Munivratan Athatyaktva Nishchakramambika Grihat Pragrihya Pranina Bhrityam Ratnamudro Pashobina. Please chant. Muni of silence, Vratam, her vow, Atha, then, Tyaktva, giving up, Nishchakrama, she exited, Ambika Grihat, from the temple of Ambika, Paragrihya, holding on, Panina, with her hand, Bhrityam, to a maid servant, Ratna, jewel, Mudra, by a ring, Upashobhina, beautify. Translation by the disciples of the Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The princess then gave up her vow of silence and left the Ambika temple, holding on to a maidservant with her hand, which was adorned with a jewel ring. Text 51 to 55. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Rukmini appeared as enchanting as the Lord's illusory potency, who enchants even the sober and grave. Thus, the kings gazed upon her virgin beauty, her shapely waist, her lovely face adorned with earrings. Her hips were graced with a jewel-studded belt. Her breasts were just budding, and her eyes seemed apprehensive of her encroaching locks of hair. She smiled sweetly, her jasmine bud teeth reflecting the glow of her bimba red lips. As she walked with the motions of a royal swan, the effulgence of her tinkling ankle bells beautified her feet. Seeing her, the assembly of heroes were totally bewildered, lost toward at their hearts. Indeed, when the kings saw her broad smile and shy glance, they became stupefied, dropped their weapons and fell unconscious to the ground from their elephants, chariots, and horses. On the pretext of the procession, Rukmini displays her beauty for Krishna alone. Slowly she advanced the two moving lotus whorls of her feet, awaiting the arrival of the Supreme Lord. With the fingernails of her left hand, she pushed some strands of hair away from her face and shyly looked from the corners of her eyes at the kings standing before her. At the moment she saw Krishna, then, while his enemies looked on, Lord Krishna seized the princess who was eager to mount his chariot. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Rukmini was anxious that her locks of hair might impede her vision, since she was most eager to see her beloved Krishna. The non-devotees or demons are bewildered at seeing the opulence of the Lord and think that his potencies is meant for their gross sense gratification. But Rukmini, an expansion of Krishna's internal pleasure potency, was meant for the Lord alone. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes from the following verse to describe the kind of woman known as Shama. Sita kale babe usno, usne kale tushitala, stanao su katinao shashya, shashyama parikirtita. Quote, a woman is called Shama when her breasts are very firm and when someone in her presence feels warm in the winter and cool in the summer. End of quote. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further points out that since the beautiful form of Rukmini is a manifestation of the Lord's internal energy, the non-devotees cannot perceive her. Thus, the heroic kings assembled in Vidarbha were agitated with loss upon seeing the Lord's illusory potency, an expansion of Rukmini. In other words, no one can lust after the Lord's eternal consort, since as soon as one mind is contaminated with lust, the covering of Maya separates one from the pristine beauty of the spiritual world and its inhabitants. Finally, Rukmini felt shy as she looked from the corners of her eyes at the other kings, for she did not want to meet the glances of those inferior men. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitangyena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Romapada Swamin Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, quite a beautiful description of Rukmini, Srimati Rukmini Devi. I think I can, Rasa, you were at the feet of Rukmini Dwarkadish for many years, no? And to appreciate Srimati Rukmini Devi's beauty is inconceivable, and the description here is quite exquisite and so beautiful. And, the full opulence and manifestation of the, Supreme Personality of Godhead in His female form. That is the perfect supreme manifestation of female beauty. And with all the opulence of female beauty, that, the walking, the form, everything. Sometimes you see People go just to entertain themselves by thousands, just to see a fashion show of the most beautiful women in this particular realm walking down the aisle. They call it the catwalk. And so they walk in certain way, and people just becomes completely entranced by the display of beauty. So right here, but we don't see people losing their consciousness, in their seats as the beautiful woman walk, the aisle. But right here we have these most powerful kings, in the world. They're just looking at the display, supreme displays of beauty, and they lose their consciousness. They fall. So quite a scene, quite an inconceivable scene. And one can only imagine and appreciate the narrations of Srila Sukadeva Goswami of these incredible displays of beauty, and also the beautiful descriptions of the character of Srimati Rukmini Devi. There is one thing that was described, we discussed that some time ago, that there's these two, just in a nutshell, there's these two aspects of prema. One is love in union and love in separation. And in love in separation, there is this different aspects, and one of them is when the lover hasn't met the beloved. So it's just a stage of pre-meeting the beloved. So this is a case of Rukmini, is this young princess who have been fall in love just by hearing about Krishna. She have never seen Krishna, but just by hearing the pastimes of Krishna that have been recited and narrated by the people who entered the city of Vidarbha, and merchants and pilgrims and brahmanas, Krishna was very, very famous because of his most attractive pastimes and features, supremely attractive. So she will hear, and she fell in love. And the love was so intense because the love in separation for the Lord creates this very intense desire to be unified with the Lord. In fact, it's considered the most intense form of prema that the devotee experiences. So her desire was very, very, very strong and single-pointed, like that. And so far we hear how she was throughout very anxious about this. Because she didn't know if Krishna has accepted her. She gave herself to Krishna already, but she didn't know if Krishna would accepted her. And she was concerned, well, maybe Krishna would think that I'm just, too out there or loose or not very civilized because she offered herself to Krishna. She was the one who, and make the whole plan. So maybe Krishna is thinking, maybe this lady is too aggressive or whatever. She was anxious. You start to stretch when we're anxious and insecure about something. When you start to stretch, things and try to explain and rationalize, and anyway, it's a mess usually when one is anxious and insecure about a situation. But finally, she received the message from Krishna, the assurance, the Brahmana that she sent to meet Krishna came back and gave her the good news. Krishna has come, as you know, he is planning to fulfill your desires. And then she gets assurance from all the Brahmana ladies who accompany her to the temple of Ambika to pray to Goddess Ambika and to Lord Shiva, both of them as a married couple, divine married couple, to bless her with Krishna to be her husband. And she received all the signs. She was now very, very happy. But still, it was the excitement of her finally meeting Krishna. And so she left the temple, and then the moment that she have prepared, the moment that she have strategized and sent to Krishna, this is the moment that you will have to take advantage to take me away, to kidnap me. So she was, the expectation was tremendous. And as she walks out of the temple, she holds, the hand of a maidservant. And, you hold him with the tension of the expectation. And she walks out. She displayed the full supremacy of her beauty for Krishna. But she's looking at Krishna, and of course, she's looking for Krishna, and as she's looking for Krishna, imagine these rows of kings and people that are looking at you, and she's displaying this supreme beauty. And of course, her character is very chaste and shy, because that beauty was only meant for Krishna. But you have all these lusty people just looking at her. So you can imagine that, shyness, the discomfort, but still the excitement and the expectation that she's, moving, the description of moving her hair from her eyes and her eyes looking aside, and finally sees Krishna. And then Krishna take her. But one of the very wonderful points that are highlighted in the purport, quoting from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is that what all these different kings who were agitated by lust, they were actually not seeing Rukmini in her, actual form. They were experiencing something else. They were experiencing the Maya potency, the illusory potency, the illusory energy. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that non-devotees, he says, see, non-devotees cannot perceive the internal energy of the Lord. So Rukmini Devi is the internal energy of the Lord. There is different types of truths that are divided, that are explained in the Vedas. There's a Vishnu Tattva, there's a Shakti Tattva, and there is a Jiva Tattva. So and also the Shiva Tattva. Shiva Tattva is very unique. But Vishnu Tattva is this Krishna and Krishna's expansion, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shakti Tattva is the energies of Krishna that also, just as Krishna himself, expands. He expands into different types of energies. And then there's Jiva Tattva, that is a living entity. And Shiva Tattva is Lord Shiva, that is between the living entities and Lord Vishnu, like that. So, in the Shakti Tattva, just as Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, and everything is Ete Chansa Kalapunsha, everything emanates from him. All the different expansions and expansions of Lord Vishnu, of Krishna, manifested in Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, like that, and the different avatars, these are all expansions from the original personality Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Similarly, the energies of Krishna all expands from Srimati Radharani, which is the original, or the original energy, or the manifestation of the energy of Krishna. And from her, all the different potencies of the Lord sort of emanates. So it is described then that there is these two manifestations of the energies of the Lord. The Antaranga Shakti and the Bahiranga Shakti. So the Antaranga Shakti is his internal potency, which is his spiritual potency. He also described as a Daivim Pakrita, or the divine nature. So this divine nature, the personification or the internal potency, is Srimati Radharani. And from Srimati Radharani, all different manifestations of the internal potencies expands. So all the gopis, the main gopis of Vrindavan, all the different queens and consorts of Krishna in Dwarka, all the Lakshmis, consorts of Lord Narayan and Lord Vishnu, they all expands from Srimati Radharani. And also, from Srimati Radharani expands the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external potency of the Lord. So, the connection between Yoga Maya, the internal potency, and Mahamaya, the external potency, is there. Is one, simultaneously one and different. Just like, to understand the principle, any truth, spiritual truth, this simultaneously oneness and difference have to be applied. So there's oneness in the energies of the Lord, but it's its difference too that it manifests into two different aspects, an internal and external. So I read something that Prabhupada explains about, how to understand this simultaneously one and difference, of this Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. This is from Prabhupada's purport. Chapter 1, Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text 25, purport Prabhupada says, in the Vedas, it is said that the potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are called by different names, such as Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Ultimately, however, the Lord potency is one. exactly as electric potency is one, although it can act both to cool and to heat. The Lord's potencies are both the spiritual and material worlds. The Lord's potency acts in both the spiritual and material worlds. In the spiritual world, the Lord's potency works as Yoga Maya. And in the material world, the same potency works as Mahamaya, exactly as electricity works both as heater and cooler. In the material world, this potency working as Mahamaya acts upon the conditioned souls to deprive them more and more of devotional service. So, you have, in the case of the inhabitants of Vidarbhapura, the kingdom of where Princess Rukmini is, many of the pious people of Vidarbha, when they saw Krishna, they immediately recognized him, and their heart desire was to unify Krishna and Rukmini. So immediately they thought, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti goes on and say, they thought like this: Krishna and no one else. She's meant for Krishna and no one else. And no one, they say it from many different ways. And then for Rukmini, thinking of Krishna, for Krishna, Rukmini and no one else. So like that. So they saw like that. Even Rukmini's father, King Bahulasya, Bhishmaka, King Bhishmaka, also wanted so much, because he also heard about Krishna. So, but when they saw immediately, when King Bhishmaka heard that Krishna and Balaram has arrived, immediately he ran to receive them and to worship them. And in his heart also, he wanted this union. But the enemies, those who were inimical to Krishna, they could not see. They could not see. They could not recognize Krishna, and they also could not see the Rukmini as the internal potency. As, they just saw matter, basically. So the experience of Krishna, it becomes cover. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, that he never manifests to the foolish and unintelligent. Because for them, the internal potency becomes like a curtain. They get cover. For them, uncover my internal potency. Yoga Maya Samamrita. So, Queen Kunti also says that. Queen Kunti, in the prayers of Queen Kunti, she says that being beyond the range of limited sense perception, your eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So the materialistic persons cannot see. And even seeing that display, that beautiful Rukmini Devi walking in the procession, what they saw was Maya Rukmini. They saw, they were not able to appreciate actually, the Supreme Goddess. So they saw, an object of lust. Something similar, there's very much similarities with Ravana and Sita. Srimati Sita Devi, we know that she was kidnapped by Ravana. But it is explained in the scriptures that what he kidnapped was not actually Sita Devi, but it was Maya Sita. Sita, the actual Sita Devi, was in a safe place with the fire god, Agni Dev. There's some narrations in the Puranas like that, about that. So, because the internal potency of the Lord cannot be approached or perceived by a non-devotee, by someone who is envious of Krishna, or by someone who is afflicted by loss, or by all these unwanted material, vices and things. You can appreciate it. It's a block. When that is in place, then, you just don't see. You derive, on the contrary of being able to appreciate, you deride Krishna. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Abhajananti man mudha, that very, very foolish people, they don't recognize him. They cannot see him as supreme. And the fact is that you see that Krishna was present in this world. How many people were able to recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That, when he entered into the palace in Hastinapura, trying to negotiate some terms of peace between the Kurus and the Pandavas, when he entered the assembly hall in Hastinapura, only a handful were able to recognize him as the personality of Godhead. Grandfather Bhishma, Dronacharya, Vidura, and that's it. The rest, nope. And to the point that Duryodhana, completely derided Krishna, insulted him, and was trying to imprison him. So, how is it possible that the personality of Godhead, with all this, the supreme manifestation of opulence, all the opulence in full, is not able to be recognized? And you see how powerful this potency, bewildering potency of the Lord is, the Maya potency, Mahamaya. So this Mahamaya and this Yoga Maya is the one potency of the Lord, but one acts in the spiritual realm, one acts in the material realm. So Prabhupada explained, just like electricity. The same electricity you can use for cooling the room or for heating the room. So similarly, the same energy is used for spiritual, for the spiritual existence and experience, and for material existence and material experience. So it depends on the consciousness of the individual. So for us, who are cultivating devotion to the Lord, and according as we approach the Lord, then the Lord manifests himself and allows to have this experience of his beauty. And similarly with Srimati Radharani, or in the case of Rukmini Devi, one can actually experience, and it's a real experience, because you have a devotee and a non-devotee coming in front of the deities, and you can actually make an experiment, and you're able to see that there is a very, very different experience, and they're very real. Sometimes you have that situation that you come with a family member that is a non-devotee, and they see, oh, it's beautiful, but it's like it's like going to Fifth Avenue and seeing the display in Macy's or something like that, the window display, in Christmas. Oh, it's impressive, it's very beautiful. So someone says, oh, it's very beautiful. But for the devotee, it's a different experience. It's something that is like, fills your heart. And, and we're not, most of us, we're not pure devotees, When we hear the experiences of the pure devotees, it goes into another level. Krishna actually can speak to the devotee or play the flute for the devotee, things like that. So it goes into another level. But even for us, we have that experience of beauty. And that completely, again, fills your heart with happiness, with a spiritual energy, and, you can't get enough of it. And you're looking for the next time to eagerly come and see again, experience that beautiful smile and glance. This is explained that Krishna's faith, Krishna's form is a supreme manifestation of beauty. But better than Krishna's form is Krishna's face. And better than Krishna's face is Krishna's smile. That's the supreme, that's the most mesmerizing. Krishna's beautiful smile. So Krishna's smile and Krishna's lotus eyes are supreme when it comes to beauty. So the capacity of being able to see and experience that is according to how we approach Krishna as a devotee. You have to be a devotee to be able to experience. If you're not a devotee, and it doesn't matter what level of devotee, you will experience the beauty of Krishna and Srimati Radharani and Srimati Rukmini Devi. You will experience that. For the non-devotee, they cannot experience that. They cannot have that same experience. They will simply see matter and, have different reactions towards matters, And the bottom line of the materialistic person, when you see matter, there's two things that you want, Bhoga and Aishwarya, which is to enjoy matter and to control it. So, and that's it. That's what it boils down. For the devotee, is that you increases your desire and your affection and your desire to serve. So it's two different worlds. Anyway, I'll stop here. Because dressing today, I don't have much time to prepare for this class. But any comments or questions? Yes, Rasa Mataji.
Beautiful class. I was just going to say, what came to mind from your explanations was that even for us with material vision, like we can see someone as an object and only see their externals and objectify that. But when you see someone both internally, externally, and know them internally, let's just say somebody who's in love with somebody, they see that internal potency as well. And that actually makes a person even more beautiful. If not, that's what, is true beauty, is the internal. So I was kind of reflecting on that being, saying that, or you were saying that when your vision is covered by lust, and you can't appreciate anything spiritual, you can't see the spiritual beauty in anything. And so I was kind of, contrasting that just from a day-to-day experience, that you can see so many things but not truly appreciate their beauty or not truly see them because in your mind you're covered with, different illusions and so forth.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point. Just remind me of this explanation that Srila Prabhupada gave about selfishness. How there is these different stages of selfishness, and the most gross ones is like, it's just about you. So when it's that level of consciousness, you use everything else is just for your enjoyment. There's not much about someone else or anything like that. And then that selfishness becomes more broader. So then it expands towards, the persons that are close to you, your family, and then that's a much broader, and then expands into a community, and then expands into, humanity, and expands, like that. So as much more expansive is, there's a greater level of consciousness. At the end, really, it's true, is the whole process of Krishna consciousness, so the whole arrangement that Krishna has made in this world is for the elevation of consciousness. Because at the most grossest level, we are, it's all about me. It's a very, the whole thing of false ego is about I am and this is mine. It's just very self-centered. And so as you elevate your consciousness, you're able to not only connect better with people and being able to appreciate others and expand your capacity to appreciate and to connect with others. And we see that there's materialistic people that are able to do that because they're people that are more in the mode of goodness. But the devotee, regardless, as you progress in devotional service, you develop those good qualities automatically. So the devotee were able not only to with the proper knowledge, understand that, here's a very special and unique spirit soul, a beautiful spirit soul, and appreciate the beautiful devotion that is in the heart of these people. And you also be able to appreciate the persons, as in their nature, accept all that, automatically happens as, a devotee progress. But, It's actually a very important aspect of serving as a devotee. One have to learn to care for others. And caring for others means, that you have to be quite broader in your capacity to accept, to understand, to appreciate, and to see someone, not only externally, but, what they bring inside. Yeah, very important thing. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So I have a more mundane look at that. This verse was so beautiful and full of symbolism for me, in that I looked at it as, how we supposed to see Krishna in everything and everywhere, right? He's omnipotent. So Rukmini's beauty is a reflection of that, So when we see beauty in the world, like you were saying, you can see it mundanely, or you can see it as Krishna's potency as well.
Correct, yes.
And Krishna's, opulence, the 6 opulences that he has. And so that's what I was thinking of when we do see beautiful material things, so to speak, whether it's a person or it's natural beauty. And so, I always found it interesting when devotee, everybody says, "Oh my God, how beautiful is that? That's Krishna's," And as I was developing, I had a hard time making those connections. But this verse, or this pastime, is a reflection of that fact, that Krishna is in beautiful things that we see in a very, so that's what I might come.
Yeah, the whole thing on the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, that every wonderful thing that is in the world, is Vibhuti Chakti. Every beautiful thing, every amazing thing is just a spark of his splendor. It's just like, every amazing thing that you can imagine. I mean, the other day someone sent a picture of the aurora, That's how you see. That's how you see it. That's how you say it, the aurora. Aurora boreal. I mean, in Spanish is aurora boreal. The lights that are in the North Pole, that display of lights. You can imagine seeing something like that, as beautiful as that, just in person, It's like surreal. So this is just sparks of Krishna's splendor. So, yes. And that's from the question that Arjuna asked to Krishna, how can I see you everywhere? How can I think of you? And because Krishna said, Mamma mana bhakto, think of me, worship me, And then Arjuna asked, so how can I think of you at all times? So then he said, by just seeing the world, the beauty of the world. Wake up in the morning and go to the lake and see the sunrise. And it's beautiful. Things like that. So, Krishna. Krishna's beauty. Yeah, it's a meditation. I mean, we have to confront the tendency that we have to see those things, and chill and enjoy it for ourselves, because we're conditioned to that. So that's why it's a meditation of, that's why hearing the scriptures, the Bhagavatam, and hearing the Bhagavad Gita and studying becomes so important, because then you can, yes, Krishna is the sun and the moon, and things like that. So you see the sun rising, it's beautiful, like that.
Prabhupada used to say that, you can't gain bhakti by scripture, by reading alone. You have to experience it through
Yeah.
seeing the deities, all the different forms. So
Yes.
you get that internalization.
What is it? Dharmasya pratyaksh. I can't remember the Sanskrit, but that is the perfection of religions because it's experience. You can experience it actually. You can perceive it. So that's this bhakti. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you again for such an awesome class. I felt like it was a duty to share something that helps me a lot, because it may help someone. But when I found this in the Prabhupada's book, the Sri Namamrita, I think, where he talks about the etymology of the name of Krishna. There's the book with all the different definitions of the word Krishna. This helped me a lot. Like it was kind of like a turning point where it just helped a lot. Where he says, if we analyze the nirukti or semantic derivation of the word Krishna, we find that Na signifies that he stops the repetition of birth and death, and Krishna means satartha, or existence. This little sentence where he says, Krishna is the whole of existence, it just was like, because, when you think of Shama Sundar, the whole of existence in human form, and then you think of the actual word means the whole of existence, it just helped me a lot to wherever there is anything, any energetic thing is a part of existence, so it's a part of Krishna. So, I don't know, it just helped me a lot.
Yes, you that's one of the things that you often, share, that it really changed your spiritual, perspective and things like that. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you, bro. Krishnarjan, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm puzzled by the fact that these rival kings, they were friends of Shishupal, so they knew that Shishupal was to be married to Rukmini, or that was the arrangement. So I'm a little puzzled that they were so out of control that...
Even in front of Shishupal, they were like...
Yes. I'm a little puzzled because it seems so completely uncivilized, but perhaps that's the nature of a demon, that there's no boundaries, uncivilized behavior. I don't know. Anyway, I was just reflecting on it.
Or the display of, the inconceivable display of beauty was so it just completely blew people away, it's quite something. You can imagine the spectacle of warriors falling from their horses and elephants and chariots, losing consciousness. Just out of, the desire to have Rukmini. Sure. Anyway. That can tell us you, the capacity of the potency of the Lord. They were seeing the supreme display of this potency. Yes, bro. Last thing.
I couldn't relate to it at first, but then I just had a thought where, how when because this is the Maya Rukmini, this is not the actual Rukmini, but this is the Maya, I guess, potency. But how when girls would see Elvis at the concerts or the Beatles, and they just be like, they just fall out.
That's true.
Like a material.
Yeah, you see these ladies, actually they lose consciousness. Yes, true. Ah! Yeah. So that was the thing. Oh, anyway. Thank you so much. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.